All right, in our first half hour, we took a closer look at what Iowa lawmakers were up to in the last week, and now we're crossing the river into Illinois. This Wednesday, Governor J.B. Pritzker will deliver his 8th annual budget address, and it's looking like it's going to be a tough economic year with the weight of tariffs and federal funding cuts all looming over Illinois. Here to help break this down for us is Peter Hancock, State House reporter for the nonprofit newsroom Capital News, Illinois. All right, Peter, progressives want the governor to increase taxes on corporations and on billionaires, and conservatives want him to keep spending flat this year. So where do you get the sense the governor is going to land during his address on Wednesday?
Well, every indication we've gotten so far leading up to this speech is that it's going to be a lean budget. I wouldn't necessarily call it austere. The state is not really in a financial crisis at this point. But here in Illinois, we have state laws that call for automatic increases every year in K through 12 education funding. We, of course, have a big unfunded liability in our pension funds, and so there are automatic increases in how much the state contributes to the pension funds. And with revenues kind of flattening out and this great unknown about what's going to happen with federal revenues, because every time we turn around, the administration in Washington is either freezing or cutting funding, whether it's for child care services or public health services or transportation or whatever. There's this great unknown about federal revenue sharing. And so we're expecting to see a very cautious, conservative budget. But I wouldn't say, it's not a panic mode budget at this point.
And why do you say that? I mean, you look at a deficit gap that could be, more than $2 billion. How is that not panic moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, these estimates come out all the time, and they are based on current law and our best guess as to what's going to happen with revenues. So they all assume that the state will follow through on its increases in K through 12 education funding and its increases in pension funding. And they assume that their estimates of the revenue income is going to be accurate. And so you build these models around that. It's usually doesn't quite, there are a lot of things you can do within a budget, but certainly, a projected somewhere between $2 and $2.5 billion out of what is essentially a $55 or $56 billion budget. It's a big chunk of change, but certainly not anything that can't be overcome. And there are a lot of different things. But as you mentioned before, there is a push to increase revenues from the progressive side. A lot of organizations are openly calling for a tax the rich policy, additional income taxes on incomes over $1 million, additional taxes on corporations, which they say just got huge tax breaks from the federal government with the passage of President Trump's big, beautiful bill. They are calling for kind of rebalancing revenues to make up for the losses there. We may see something from the governor on that point, but it does in Illinois. That also raises some constitutional issues because in our state constitution, there's some very specific language that makes changes in income tax law kind of difficult.
Well, beyond the budget, there are a couple bills that are getting some attention that are working their way through the legislature. I want to buzz through these pretty fast. One bill that failed to pass last year could get a second chance this legislative session. So how do lawmakers want to regulate homeowners' insurance rates?
Yeah, this was something that Governor Pritzker himself jumped out in front of and called for last summer after State Farm announced like a 27% rate hike on average in the state of Illinois. Illinois has a pretty lax regulatory environment for homeowners insurance. So a bill went through the General Assembly during the fall veto session. Essentially what happened was that the Senate took a bill that had come out of the House, amended it by putting this insurance law into it that would have given the state insurance department more authority to review and regulate homeowners insurance rates. They sent it back to the House. Somebody didn't count the votes right because it came up for a vote in the House and it failed to achieve the 60 votes needed. The next day, a state representative filed a motion to concur again. You can do that twice under rules of the House. So there's a chance it could come up as early as Tuesday or Wednesday. Everybody's kind of looking to see what might happen on that one.
And really quickly, another bill that's gotten a lot of attention is called the Power Act. It would regulate new data centers in Illinois. How would it do that?
Yeah, basically, it would make power centers or these data centers pay for their own electricity. It's sort of ironic that it was just a few years ago Illinois was recruiting these data centers. They were, big economic investments. There were some jobs attached to it. We were trying to get more of them, but then the more we came to learn that they are huge users of electricity, and that has caused some concern in areas, especially as the state is trying to shift away from fossil fuels to more renewable electric generation sources. There's a lot of concern that these centers could actually be raising rates by putting increased demand on the power grid. And so this bill calls for them to pay for their own electricity and to report their water usage. They consume a lot of water to cool the facilities down. And it's caused some controversy in some communities where they have set up because of the drain they put on the local power supply and water supply. So this would, essentially put some more local controls on them.
Well, Peter, as always, thank you so much for your time and your expertise today. And for you guys at home, we have our political coverage for both states up on our website under the As Seen on TV tab of the homepage.